Hello students, this is SriRam Shastri. I once again welcome you back to my new video session. In the last video, we had started with the chapter number 8 in biology class 12, that is human health and diseases. In the last video, we had discussed about the classification of diseases and the first type, that is viral diseases. Coming to the second category, that is bacterial diseases. The diseases which are caused by bacteria are to be studied under this category. The first disease which is there in our syllabus is typhoid, or also called as enteric fever. Typhoid, which is also called as enteric fever. Then the causative agent. Causative agent of this disease is a bacteria called Salmonella typhi, and the mode of transmission here is contaminated food and water. So from an infected person, it can be transmitted by contaminated water or food. The incubation period is around 1 to 3 weeks and at an optimum around 2 weeks. The site of infection is small intestine, where these bacteria infect, and the symptoms: persistent fever around 39 degrees Celsius to 40 degrees Celsius, stomach ache, weakness, constipation, headache, loss of appetite. In severe cases, intestinal perforation can also be seen. Now again, if you talk about the diagnosis can be done by a test, a serological test called as viral test, and a vaccine is available for it, that is TAB vaccine. Okay, so typhoid vaccines are available. TAB vaccine provides immunity against typhoid. So there is an interesting story about a lady called as Typhoid Very, who was nicknamed, her actual name was Mary Mallon. So Mary Mallon was a lady who was cook by her profession, and she used to supply food. And she was a carrier of typhoid. Some of the people, they act as carrier or reservoirs of this disease because they do not show any symptoms, but the organisms remain in their body for a longer time, and they transmit it unknowingly to the people who are healthy. Now Mary Mallon was a cook by profession, as I said, but she was not keeping what you call as hygiene, and because of poor hygiene, she transmitted or she transferred the bacteria through her food to her different customers, and those people who consumed food from her, they all got infected from typhoid. And later on, when this lady was what you call as tested, she had the virus, sorry, she had the typhoid causing organisms in her body, but she did not show any symptoms. So such people who have a stronger immunity, they tend to act as reservoirs, or also called as silent carriers of the disease. This is all about the typhoid. In typhoid, interesting point is that it takes a longer time to treat this disease, and if it is not noticed properly, then these bacteria, they make wounds inside the small intestine and they perforate. That means they make holes in the small intestine, which can lead to death in severe cases. Coming to next, second bacterial disease we can discuss here is pneumonia. The word pneumo refers to lungs. Inflammation of lungs or blockage of lungs is the characteristic feature of this disease. Now again, pneumonia can be caused by different types of bacterial strains like Streptococcus pneumoniae, Haemophilus influenzae, or there are other also like Diplococcus pneumoniae is there, Monococcus pneumoniae are there. A type of cocci bacteria, mainly they cause pneumonia. The incubation period is around 1 to 3 days from infected person to uninfected person. The mode of transmission is droplets or aerosols. That means whenever an infected person coughs or sneezes, the bacterial spores present in their lungs come out with the droplets, and if those droplets are inhaled by a healthy person, they may get this disease. Now the site of infection is lower respiratory tract, especially the region called alveoli. The bunch of grape-like structures present in the lungs, they are called as alveoli, and these alveolar sacs are the site of infection in pneumonia. Symptoms include fever and chills. Person may have fever and chills. There may be cough and headache, breathlessness. In severe cases, the what you call as grayish colored or bluish colored lips and nails can be seen because of low oxygen supply from the lungs and blood. So because the blood is not much supplying oxygen, the venous blood is quite bluish, and that's the reason why the tongue, lips and nails may turn somewhat bluish. Now, pneumonia and that is typhoid, these are the two main diseases which we have discussed in bacterial diseases. These are some of the other list of diseases which are also caused by different types of bacteria. The first one we can see here is bacillary dysentery caused by Shigella or E. coli or Campylobacter. There are three different bacteria which can cause bacillary dysentery. The first one is Shigella, second one is Escherichia coli or E. coli, and Campylobacter. All these three they can cause dysentery or bacillary dysentery. Second one is called as plague. It's caused by a bacteria called Yersinia pestis. It has another name also called as Pasteurella pestis. The vector for this disease is rat flea. Rat flea is small insect which is a small parasite present on the body of rats. So rats carry small insects on them. They are called as fleas, and rat fleas they can jump from rats to human beings, and if they bite human beings and if they have the bacteria called Yersinia pestis, they inject it inside your body, and it's also called as black death because it immediately causes death. So there are different types of plague. One of the deadliest disease in medical history, a bubonic plague, where the person develops bubons, water filled balloon like structures on their body. There will be heavy fever, then because of internal hemorrhage the person dies. Then the third one is diphtheria. Diphtheria is a type of coughing disorder caused by Corynebacterium diphtheriae. So usually in old age people and very young children who are not vaccinated, they generally have the problem of diphtheria, and it is also a contagious disease rather. Then anthrax, if you talk about anthrax, is also called as biowar disease. The reason why is it called as biowar disease is it does not have any perfect treatment. It's caused by a bacteria called Bacillus anthracis. Generally, this bacteria infects animals, so it's also a zoonotic disease. And when it infects individual, the tissues start deteriorating. It's a necrotic disease. The tissues start dying, the cells die, the tissues die, and internal hemorrhage can lead to death. Multiple organ failure and death is definite. Anthrax definitely causes death, and the spores of anthrax vaccine can be used as a biowar weapon, and that's the reason why it's called as a biowar disease. Tuberculosis, or in short called as TB. It is also a respiratory disorder where again it can be transmitted by aerosols or droplets from an infected person. It's caused by a bacteria called as Mycobacterium tuberculosis, and it also infects the lower respiratory system, especially the alveoli. Fluid collection takes place there, or death of alveolar cells can lead to heaviness in the breathing, and if it is not treated, TB can cause death. In most of the cases, in old aged people and very young children or infants, newly born infants, they are prone to get this disease called tuberculosis. Coming to pertussis, or also called as the whooping cough, caused by another bacteria, Bordetella pertussis. Seventh one is cholera. Cholera in Hindi is also called as Haja. It's a type of dysentery type of disorder caused by a comma-shaped bacteria, Vibrio cholerae. The mode of transmission is contaminated water and food from infected person. Then eighth one is leprosy. Leprosy is also a necrotic disease caused by another type of bacteria called Mycobacterium leprae. Mycobacterium leprae, when it infects, generally it causes deterioration of living tissues, especially bones and cartilage, which is probably irreversible, and if not treated, it can also lead to death. Ninth disease in bacterial list is tetanus, caused by Clostridium tetani. It's a type of bacteria which remains in soil. The spores can be seen in rusted iron, and glass pieces which are soiled. The spores, if they enter into your body, they generally cause what do you call as, it's also called as lockjaw disease, because the muscular movement is stopped because of Clostridium tetani, and generally it makes the muscles stiff and rigid, resulting in what you call as a crooked body curvature, or it can lock your muscles and can suddenly lead to that, because your heart is also made of muscles. So because this disease is very deadly, vaccination is available. It's a type of a toxoid vaccine. It's called as tetanus toxoid vaccine, which can prevent this disease in case of any injury from a rusted iron piece or glass, or when you have an injury and you do not properly clean it, and if soil comes in contact with the wounds, you must immediately get a tetanus toxoid shot. So these are the lists of bacterial diseases. In this video, we'll stop this video here itself. In this video, we have discussed about the bacterial diseases, and a list of bacterial diseases also I have given with short what you call as symptoms and points regarding them. In the next video, we'll continue with the other type of diseases. Thank you.